Coming up, what it's like to own and fly a piece of history.
Take a family flight to the beach, plus honoring the designs of Burt Rutan.
And shooting hoops from a Piper Cub. AOPA Live this week begins in just a moment.
Build and flying with the Sonex Aircraft B models. The B models offer more room and comfort, more fuel, more panel space, more engine choices, and the same great Sonex Aircraft flight characteristics. Learn more at sonexaircraft.com.
This is AOPA Live This Week with Tom Haynes and Melissa Redinger.
It's not been a good couple of weeks for general aviation in the public eye. The high-profile crash of a twin-engine Cessna in Los Angeles and 2 cases of someone stealing an airplane and then crashing it. The Horizon Air de Havilland Dash 8 out of Seattle and a Cessna Citation flown into a house in Payson, Utah.
And Tom, the talking heads, they're aghast. As could have been predicted, more hysteria about more regulation for airlines, airports, and those little airplanes. But these incidents are an opportunity to remind everyone that general aviation is safe and secure and that we're doing our part to keep unauthorized users from accessing our aircraft.
But the most important thing the pilots can do is to secure aircraft by using door lock, auxiliary lock, and securing all keys.
The other important action we can take is to keep an eye out for suspicious activity around the airport. That's what AOPA's Airport Watch program is all about. Airport Watch functions the same way a neighborhood watch does. Members of the community work together to look out for and report suspicious activity. If you see something suspicious, just call 866-GA-SECURE, or if it's an emergency, call 911.
The airport users, including pilots, are usually familiar with the behaviors of those who have a valid purpose for being at the airport. We have received feedback from the agencies answering the phones. The pilot calls have made a difference. We encourage pilots to be familiar with this program, and they help ensure GA community remains safe and secure for all.
The AOPA Air Safety Institute has a course on GA security. You can find it by clicking Online Learning under the Training and Safety tab. Good advice.
It is, and you know, nobody knows your local airport like you know your local airport. So if you see something that doesn't seem quite right, speak up, do something about it. Last week, millions saw the video of a Cessna 414 plunging straight down. Tragically, 5 people died in that accident, and the talking heads started their Chicken Little imitations. But one LA TV reporter, a pilot herself, spoke up about the misconceptions surrounding plane crashes. KTLA's Christina Pascucci went to YouTube to set the record straight.
I've been getting an influx of questions since I covered that horrific Santa Ana plane crash over the weekend that killed 5 people. We want to learn from this. So I wanted to give some insight from the perspective of a licensed pilot and tell you what I know based on my training the past several years. First of all, a lot of people have the misconception that when a plane loses an engine or loses power, it's going to go nose first into the ground. That's not how aerodynamics works. What happens when a plane loses an engine or power, and I've done it in my training where my instructor pulled the power, is the plane is going to glide. That's what airplanes and aircraft are meant to do.
Another thing that most of the media didn't report is the recent historic improvements in general aviation safety. AOPA Air Safety Institute says the GA fatal accident rate is down more than 50% since 1994. And I got to say, it's nice to see an aviation-savvy reporter in a major television market attempting to accurately inform the public about how airplanes fly and pointing out that they don't just fall from the sky when things go wrong.
Exactly. That's really, really refreshing to see.
It is. Very nice.
In Washington, they're called alphabets, and from the list scrolling up your screen, you can see why. AOPA is one of the big dogs among the aviation alphabets, but we are all influential in our own way. And so this week, all the alphabets combined their influence to urge the Senate to pass long-term legislation to keep the FAA operating. Technically called authorization, a long-term bill would allow employers, manufacturers, customers, and communities the certainty to continue to build, invest, hire, innovate, and grow in this dynamic industry. The 11 million people who work to make aviation fly count on this long-term legislation for their safety and security too, the alphabets said. The current short-term extension expires on September 30th, so an authorization bill needs to clear both houses of Congress before then.
Summer's passing by quickly, but it's still prime time to take a trip to the beach in your airplane. AOPA Online Managing Editor Alyssa Cobb has the story about a family-friendly beach destination.
When the sand, sun, and waves are calling, nothing else can relax the soul like a trip to the beach. My husband and I had a day off midweek, so we loaded our folding bikes, beach umbrella, picnic lunch, and headed to Ocean City, New Jersey. The 1.5-hour flight sure beat the 4+ hour drive in traffic. Dubbed America's greatest family resort, the beach and boardwalk are definitely family-friendly. Ocean City Municipal Airport is within easy walking and biking distance of the beach. We opted for our bikes to make it easier to transport our beach gear for the day. The boardwalk boasts shops, restaurants, and an amusement park. It's quiet during the morning, perfect for biking, but bikes aren't allowed on the boardwalk after noon. But my true destination is the beach, not the boardwalk. It's time to soak in the sun and watch the waves roll in. Alyssa Cobb, AOPA Live.
And AOPA has an abundance of stories about destinations to fly to. You can find them on the travel section of our website. Better yet, subscribe to the AOPA Travel Pilot newsletter to get destination stories in your inbox. It's free and highly informative.
And if you're looking for the ultimate flying destination, the AOPA fly-in to Santa Fe, New Mexico is just a month away. There will be several excursions for attendees of the fly-in. The Jet Warbird Training Center will be offering tours. The training center offers a chance to fly ex-military jets like the L-39 and MiG-15. There will also be an excursion to the Commemorative Air Force Lobo Wing at Moriarty Municipal Airport. The wing is home to 2 Fairchild PT-26s and a Beechcraft AT-11 Kansan undergoing restoration. Find all the details at our fly-in website.
The airplane in our next story isn't going to get you anywhere quickly, but the journey will be an unforgettable experience. We interviewed pilot Ken Hainlin about what it's like to own and fly a Stearman.
The most rewarding part of owning a Stearman for me is, number one, owning a piece of history, but as far as flying it, it's being right out in the elements. Of course, you don't want to fly it when it's below about 50 degrees or above about 95 because it's just not super comfortable. But a beautiful morning when it's nice and quiet and still and you haven't got all the clouds in the sky, it's pretty enjoyable. You get some fantastic views. The challenging aspect of flying a Stearman is that for most of us, we didn't learn in a Stearman. I happen to have learned in a Stearman and then transitioned over to tricycle, and it was quite a few years before I got back to flying a Stearman again. So unlearning our lazy feet of not using the rudder and when you're landing, not being able to see down the runway because your deck angle is so high, and making sure you're still pointing down the runway so you don't ground loop the aircraft or go somewhere you don't want to go, like off the runway. For me to own a piece of history like this is a couple of fold, in that you have a responsibility to make sure it stays as much of a Stearman as you possibly can, and treat it with the respect that it's earned. It's, you know, it's a 1941 Stearman, and it's been around longer than I have, and it's in a lot better shape than I'm in. So I want to make sure that it stays that way and respect it for what it is and the history it represents.
You can read all about Ken Stearman in the September issue of AOPA Pilot magazine. Holy cow, what a great restoration.
It is. The Stearman's one of my favorite open cockpit airplanes.
Yeah, it really is beautiful. It's a real classic. Coming up after the break, Airbus celebrates a record-breaking flight.
And keeping the early canard designs aloft and shooting hoops from above. You're watching AOPA Live this week.
You always knew it was your perfect airplane. Now it can have the perfect panel. Garmin G500 TXI and Garmin G600 TXI, the next generation of flight displays.
Welcome back. Airbus is celebrating a record-breaking flight. After flying for nearly 26 days, the Airbus Zephyr broke the record for flying longer than any other unmanned aircraft. The Zephyr is a solar-powered unmanned aerial vehicle, took off in early July. Zephyr operates in the stratosphere at around 70,000 feet. Airbus plans to sell the aircraft for surveillance and reconnaissance missions.
Well, it won't stay aloft for 26 days, but the new Honda Jet Elite does boast increased range. Honda just delivered the first Elite model. The company says the range is increased by 17%. The Elite also has a quieter cabin, updated avionics, and new interior options. Stratus Aircraft, the company developing a new single-engine jet, announced updates to the design and a new name. The jet was originally called the 714, but because of customer feedback, the company decided to make the cabin larger and call the jet the 716. The company plans to have two versions of the 716, the certified jet and the 716X, a kit-built aircraft.
And when you think of experimental amateur-built aircraft, there are a few names that come to mind. At the top of that list, it's probably Burt Rutan. The iconic designer is the force behind many models of aircraft beloved by enthusiasts. It's been nearly 50 years since his first design, the Very Vigan, first flew, and now a group is working to preserve the legacy of his iconic designs to make sure they aren't lost to history. AOPA Live's Paul Harrop has the story.
If you work backwards from the first commercial spaceflight, there's a line that traces directly to Burt Rutan. But there's thousands of other people involved in thousands of garages and workshops, building themselves into the path to space, one layer of fiberglass at a time.
Every one of these airplanes is built by somebody, and that means there's a story behind it. This airplane I'm standing next to, for example, was built by Martin Kennedy. It was a Wright Brothers Award winner back in the 90s when they gave that award. Martin put his heart and soul in this airplane, and the family could have sold it, but they wanted it to do something positive. They wanted to keep Martin's dream alive.
Enter the Rutan aircraft flying experience. It started when Richard Zato noticed that each year there seemed to be less canards at Oshkosh.
So I said, well, what's going to happen? We're just going to let this all fade away? And several people just said, well, I guess that's a cycle of life. And I said, no, these are great airplanes, and Burt's a great designer, and we just can't let all this fade away. So I started a nonprofit organization to help promote and preserve Burt Rutan's legacy home-built designs.
Borrowing from the commemorative Air Force model, the nonprofit seeks aircraft sponsors for the home builds it keeps going, hoping to have a number of them across the country.
We're trying to inspire people to keep building, keep flying. There's a lot of airplanes out there they can acquire, a lot of projects they can finish, and keep the breed alive.
The early canards are practically ancient history compared to Rutan's latest work on the Ski Gull. But the designs and the people who devoted years to give them life is history the RAFE thinks is worth celebrating. In Oshkosh, Paul Harrop, AOPA Live.
You can find more information on the group and how to get involved on their website.
Finally this week, you don't usually think of flying and playing basketball as going together, but that didn't stop Harlem Globetrotters player Bull Bullard. The team released an incredible video of Bull making a basket from a Piper Cub.
Right in line, 3, 2, 1. Woo! Yeah! Yeah!
That's awesome. The basket Cub shot is one of several Bull has made from high above the hoop. Last year, Bull scored from 200 feet above in a helicopter. Oh man, what fun and what an amazing shot from a Piper Cub.
Yeah, good luck trying that one again.
And that'll do it for us this week. We'd love to know what you think about the show. Our email address is aopalive@aopa.org.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here next week.
The AOPA World MasterCard delivers generous cashback rewards in all of your favorite aviation categories, so you can do more of what you love, flying. And because every purchase helps to support general aviation, every cardholder is helping to protect the freedom to fly. Apply now for the AOPA World MasterCard, the best card for pilots.